So this guy gets stranded on a deserted island with a dog and a pig.
Okay.
After a couple weeks of being alone, that pig starts looking real fine. So he tries to go at it, and the dog starts attacking him.
Okay.
So he waits a week till the dog's asleep. And that pig's looking mighty fine now. So he tries to go for the pig again. The dog wakes up, attacks him. On the third week, this beautiful, voluptuous, blonde castaway woman washes up on the beach. And the guy says to her, "Oh, thank God. I've been waiting weeks. Can you hold that goddamn dog?"
I don't get it.
He wanted to fuck the pig.
Yeah, because you said it was looking fine.
Yeah, and then a beautiful woman landed on the beach, and he said, "Will you hold the dog so I can fuck the pig?"
Oh, so he chose the pig over the girl.
Yes.
Crazy times,
welcome.
you know. I, too, have chose pig over women.
And with that, welcome back, Corkies, to Crypts and Corks.
I might cut that out.
Episode 39.
That was weird. That was meant to be a funny joke. I mean, you were funny. We'll just take back everything I just said. Hi, y'all. Welcome to Crypts and Corks.
I'm your host, DJ, here with my co-host,
Paul, as usual.
Also known as the Mount Washington Hillbilly, apparently, with that guffaw.
Right. Girl, it's been a long day. I don't even know what's happening. I don't know what's going on. We just went through a good old tornado warning, which is so crazy.
And we're filming this one after work.
Yes. But it's back to the tornado warning, because it's crazy, because I never remember having this many tornado warnings before. Like, what's going on?
Global warming.
Exactly. I did see on the internet
It's real.
That, like, Tornado Alley shifted.
Oh, fuck.
Right.
See, I grew up watching Twister. Do you remember that movie?
Yes, I do remember.
So, like...
There's a remake coming out this year.
Yes, and I want to see if it has Glenn Powell in it. And I love me some Glenn Powell.
Period.
But, like, I was terrified when it, like, being 6 years old, like, anytime the wind blew, I was like, oh my God, it's a Twister, get in the basement.
It's coming.
And now you're like, Tornado Alley shifted, and I'm like, fuck, all my worst fears came true. Next, the shark from Jaws is going to be in my swimming pool.
Right, you have to get a swimming pool first, though.
Bill and Rose used to have a swimming pool, actually.
Oh, that's crazy.
Although my grandmother asked if I would stop talking about her on the podcast.
Why?
She doesn't believe me when I say nice things about her.
Oh my God, that's how you know she really don't be listening.
She really doesn't.
What she's scared of. Like, her church friends are gonna come up and be like, I was listening to your grandson's
Satanist
right,
podcast.
Your godless whore podcast.
He's a heathen. I saw Goody DJ in the woods dancing naked with the devil.
Yeah, and that was just a Tuesday.
He signed his name in the book of the beast.
Ooh, girl, I'd sign my name in the book. Anyway.
DJ Paz, I'll ask thee for the last time, where is thy son Zachary Binks? I can't say. Cat's got my tongue.
Oh my gosh.
It's always in season to do a Hocus Pocus.
I agree.
Reference.
Hocus Pocus was a good movie. Very good movie.
So I'm glad you didn't get blown away by a tornado.
Thank you. And it's... that honestly, it would have been the only thing I would have been blown by all month. In which, that's crazy, because it's the end of Pride.
You don't know that because your hair looks really good today. I don't think I've told you that, but it looks really good today.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll model for the camera a little bit. Oh my God, get into it. But yeah, we're at the end of Pride Month.
Yes, we are.
We've made it through.
We've come to the end of another Hot Guy of the Month.
We did. We are, unfortunately.
We're going through them faster than a hoe at speed dating.
I know. It's so sad because I love Troye Sivan so much. He has been an awesome Hot Guy of the Month. Making his TikToks have been so much fun. And just like, I don't know. I feel like reliving him this month has been reliving like a lot of years of my life and childhood and everything. Like we talked about on the last episode, I think it was, where we talked about the phases, how his albums like can like correlate with the phases of a gay guy's like life.
Yes, and I don't want to butt in, but I do have a fun fact about Troye Sivan.
Oh, what is that?
Troye Sivan discovered Chapel Roan.
Oh, yeah, that picture from, like, Chapel and him and Connor Franta in 2014.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Troye Sivan has been working for the LGBTQ plus community longer than we have known.
I know. He's been out here with the dolls. Like, girl, that's crazy. And I hope he never stops doing what he's doing, because it just brings me so much life. And I'm so excited to see him on the Sweat Tour. Oh my gosh.
Gay son, thought daughter tour.
Exactly.
Get it right.
I cannot wait to see him on stage and just dancing and living his best gay life with all the naked not naked, but like mostly naked dancers, and just like everything. Troye Sivan is everything. I am super excited for like the future with him, to see what he brings us. I mean, and probably just since Pride Month is over, doesn't mean we'll stop making Troye Sivan TikToks. Probably.
Oh, it's always Troye Sivan season.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
I would like to. I'm gonna look right in. Is this my camera?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna look right in this camera and say, Troye, I love you, even though you didn't even like the birthday TikTok we spent hours making.
We got you a cake, bitch.
And all I have to say is I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. You really, oh my gosh. You brought back all your theater days with that
I started out as Judy Garland, and then I ended up like being one of those cringy women who go on and it was like, please, give me money.
Oh my gosh. But thank you, Troye Sivan, for all you do. Keep up the good work. Thanks for being an awesome Hot Guy of the Month. It was super fun. And we'll have another Hot Guy of the Month next month with a little change.
Yes, I, from here on out, will be presenting Hot Guy of the Month.
Yes, DJ is taking over Hot Guy of the Month.
Well, at least for the next 3 months, till September.
Yep, and then we'll see what happens.
That will take us up to our 1-year anniversary, and we're going to evaluate what we're doing now, and
yeah, we'll see what happens.
What you guys want to see going in the future, but that is a ways off.
Right.
Before we get there, I got a drink.
Girl, well, do you have anything else to say about your week before we get there?
No, I think they really got enough when I impersonated Winifred Sanderson.
Period. That's how this week is going. It's going
It's one of those weeks.
Pocus-esque.
It is one of those. No, actually, I do have something to say.
Okay, what's up?
So I'm going to Chicago this weekend to visit our dear friends Mike and Riley.
Yes.
And Mike's birthday's on Saturday. And to celebrate, we're going to an underwear party in a club.
Yes.
And I cannot tell you how hard it has been to find an outfit to wear to this party, because I've been very open about my body image issues.
Yes.
And I'm working on it. I'm getting better, but I'm still not at a point where I'm comfortable. So you actually helped me come up with this great idea where I got a lace tank top and a underbust corset, so it's not like a booby one.
Yeah.
And then the idea was to wear black jock with it.
Yes.
The jock strap came, and it was a small.
Oh.
And it was so big, it didn't cover nothing. Everything was hanging out.
Oh, because of small? What?
No, it was too big because it was actually a thong.
Okay.
And that little piece that connects from the front patch to the back that runs up your ass was so long. It's just like hanging there. And I'm like,
bitch.
I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Right. So I had to order a replacement pair.
Yeah.
And while I did try on the corset and the tank top to make sure, and I do have this jock strap. If you're my family, please mute this next part. Tune back in like 45 seconds. It's my favorite one. It's black and it's like mesh.
Yes.
And I was like, I'm going to put that on to send a picture to Mike to, like, ask him what he thinks. I put it on and I was like, oh my God, I forgot you can see everything in this. And then I realized the replacement I bought is also see-through. So I had to send a message to Mike saying, hey, is it okay if, like, you can see everything? He was like, yes, an underwear party. Like, wear a jock, your ass can hang out. I was like, no, the problem is my front is going to be seen through lace.
He said, whoa.
He was like, and then he was like, well, we're doing stuff before that, so I didn't think you want to wear that. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm going to wear a corset. And so we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Lots of wardrobe struggles, and I hope it gets figured out. And if you end up showing your junk to all of Chicago, more power to you. There you go. Get into it. If you're in Chicago this weekend, get ready for DJ's junk.
I will get myself a man the old-fashioned way, like the Empress Theodora of the Roman Empire.
Craigslist.
No, she was a prostitute, and she had this routine where she would stick rice up her coochie, and she'd go into a candlestick, and then she would do a split in the air, and geese would come and pick the rice out of her coochie.
See, that is very disturbing, and I imagine that did not feel good in
It's not proven.
press.
It could have been propaganda, like, made by her enemies.
I wouldn't be surprised if she got, like, goose rabies from that.
But I'd like to think, because she ended up saving her husband, Justinian, was like one of the greatest Roman emperors ever. Mm-hmm. And she saved his reign by convincing him not to, like, run away from a coup d'etat and fight.
Huh.
So she really saved the Roman Empire. And I really want, like, I don't care, like, let geese eat raw rice out of my coochie.
Right. If you're going to save the Roman Empire, I guess you can do whatever.
Now I think we both need a drink after that.
Yeah, probably. What are we drinking today?
We are drinking a Riesling from The Seeker. Let me get the... Whoops.
I was going to do the Goody Guru thing.
So, discover the Moselle River Valley, epicenter of German winemaking. Here, steep slopes angle vines towards the sun, releasing exceptional and concentrated flavors.
Hot.
I'm going to move that so I can do our crack.
Yes. Well, damn.
I'm going to let you do the honors. I loosened it.
Sometimes you just need a man to do things.
I loosened it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I could smell it from here, and it smells so good.
Oh, since we're on camera now, so that was the audio ASMR.
Okay.
Now I'm going to do a visual.
Hit him with the visuals. Gorgeous, darling.
That was a lot hotter because I was using my left hand. Five grapes. No questions.
That wine is amazing.
5 grapes.
Bitch, the Seeker Riesling? They seeked my pussy.
I love a Riesling. I always forget how much I love Riesling.
It's a German wine. You already said that. Yes. This is, yes.
Is this, like, from Germany or?
I guess in 2021 they had that wine in Germany.
Yeah, it is actually from Germany.
That wine is good. That'll work your pussy out. You need to get yourself some of this Seeker wine. I'm going to be seeking more of this. Sponsored? Not sponsored. No. Maybe one day we'll get sponsored by someone or something.
Speaking of, I looked cute for all of 10 minutes on the podcast and I'm hot.
See, if there's one thing the folks at home need to realize during the summertime is we have to turn off the air conditionings while we're recording.
And Paul's building is like pretty central air, so it's essentially an oven.
Yeah, it's hot as shit while we're recording.
Like, he will turn the AC off and immediately the temperature goes up 10 degrees.
Plus we have our lights on us. Like, it's hot in here, guys. So you're gonna have to just bear with us. You're gonna have to bear with it, and it's gonna have to be fine.
All right, Paul. Let me tell you a story.
Period.
On July 2nd, 1937, the crew of the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Itasca moored just off the coast of a tiny Pacific island and were waiting. They stare at the radio set, waiting for the set to crackle to life with a signal from their target. Just about dawn, the speakers emit the waited message. Their target is approaching fast. But then dread sets in as they realize they can't transmit messages back. Frantically, they attempt to hail the plane, quickly approaching them using Morse code, but the pilot is unable to hear them. The famous pilot's voice is distressed as she radios, "We must be on you, but cannot see you. Gas is low." The signal is so loud the plane must be just overhead, but lookouts can't see it. Within minutes, a record-breaking flight ended, and Amelia Earhart flew into the unknown.
That's spooky. Okay, so that is the last radio signal from Miss Amelia P. Earhart.
Last confirmed.
And the P stands for pussy, because
Actually,
she
her-
was giving.
Actually, her middle name was Mary.
Mary. Same thing.
So, if you haven't caught on, because I did it a little different, we're doing the disappearance of Amelia Earhart.
Yes, get into
Normally I say
some...
like today, like this week we'll be discussing, but I changed it up.
That's okay.
I'm getting more creative.
You know, let's get into some Miss Amelia fucking
Yeah,
Earhart.
before we get into her disappearance, let me tell you a bit about her life, how she grew up, her achievements, which all led up to her record-breaking around the world. Well,
Okay.
attempted record-breaking world flight.
Okay, I'm ready for her.
Amelia Mary Earhart was born July 24th, 1897 in Atchison, Kansas, to Samuel Edwin Earhart and Amelia Amy Otis Earhart.
Okay.
She had one younger sister named Grace, who was nicknamed Pidge. Amelia was nicknamed Mealy. The two sisters went by the childhood nicknames well into their adulthood, which I just think is cute.
Yes, we love a good nickname.
Their mother, Amy, was unconventional and stated she had no interest in raising, quote, nice little girls, unquote. So instead, Amelia was a bit of a tomboy as a child and often adventured out through her neighborhood climbing trees, hunting rats with a rifle, and sledding downhill with Grace often following her.
Oh, she was giving that lesbian energy, okay?
In 1904, her uncle helped her build a makeshift ramp from the top of the family's toolshed based on a roller coaster ramp she had seen, and she proceeded to ride down the ramp in a wooden box, briefly becoming airborne before crashing. Upon crashing, she dusted her torn dress off and through a bruised lip said, "Oh, Pidge, it's just like flying."
Foreshadowing.
And that really shows you, like, literally she, like, crashed and she just gets up and she's like, "Oh my god, it was amazing."
Right, okay. That very much is giving tomboy.
It also is, like, showing you kind of, like, her resilience.
Yes, her tenacity.
Exactly, and that she's not really afraid of danger.
Here.
Because let me tell you that, if I, like, did that and I crashed, never again.
Right.
I would lock myself in my room. I'd never come out. I'd be like Emily Dickinson,
Oh my gosh.
just passing letters through the door.
That's crazy about Emily Dickinson. I don't know much about her, but...
In 1907, the family moved from Kansas to Des Moines. Is it Des Moines? Des Moines?
Des Moines.
Des Moines?
Des Moines, Iowa.
Des Moines, Iowa. We all have our things, Paul.
I mean,
You said you wanted to fuck a pig earlier.
Bitch, I did not say that.
It was heavily implied, and the Corkies will agree with me.
Listen, we all make mistakes, and I would not fuck a pig. I broke up with him a while ago.
So she's in Des Moines, Iowa, and the following year, Amelia saw her first aircraft. But despite her father bribing the pilot with $10 and urging her to take a flight, she looked it over and said she had no interest in it because it was nothing but wood and wire and it was too rickety.
I just want to clarify that my exes are not pigs and that they are all very good people.
This has been a PSA with Paul.
Do, the more you know, reading Rainbow.
Throughout her time in high school, Amelia had a love of science, and when she and her family were living in Chicago, she rejected several high schools that were close to her for having lackluster science labs.
Period. We love women in STEM. I'm here for that.
It was also at this time Amelia kept a scrapbook of news clippings about successful women and male-oriented careers and aspired to have a career of her own one day.
See, I love that. We need more women in STEM. Women in STEM 2024.
Yeah. From 1917 to 1918, she served as a Red Cross nurse in Toronto, caring for wounded soldiers returning from World War I, and often spoke with the pilots about flying, and this is where her initial interest came from.
Okay. So right off the bat, we're getting she's a very competent gal.
Yeah.
She's educated. She knows what she's doing, knows what she's talking about.
Yes, and she's about 21 now.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I did 1897 to 1917.
So she's already done more in those 21 years than I've done in my 27. Good. Great. This is going great.
In 1918, however, she contracted Spanish flu and was diagnosed with sinusitis and had to endure several painful operations which caused the sinusitis to get worse. For the rest of her life, she would suffer sinus problems which sometimes affected her flying, and sometimes she would have to wear a bandage on her face with a drainage tube.
Oh, she probably had to stop doing all that coke.
If she did coke, yeah.
Yeah, that's rough.
But I think back then they just drank it in their soda.
Was that during that time period?
I don't know when they stopped putting cocaine in Coca-Cola.
I don't know if I would try the cocaine Coca-Cola. I don't know if I'm about that life.
No, but did you know in New York, there is one specific deli, and they make Coca-Cola, not the cocaine kind,
Yeah.
but they make it the way that it was installed in the 1930s, where you take soda water and then they pump the Coca-Cola syrup into it.
See, I'd fuck with that. I would give that a good old try, because one thing about me is I love some Coca-Cola.
Wait, you know how Coca-Cola, it all says original taste? Because I don't know when, but somebody said, like, Coke had a new taste at one point. It was, like, right before our lifetime.
Okay.
Because I've heard about it, but I've never seen it. I don't remember it.
Okay.
But what would be interesting would be going and tasting that original Coca-Cola and comparing Coca-Cola that has original taste to see if it is the original taste.
That would be interesting, actually. I would definitely do that.
Back to Amelia Earhart. In the early 1920s, inspired by her conversation with pilots, she began to attend air shows every chance she got. During one of these, a pilot saw Amelia and a friend standing in a nearly empty field and dived at them, but Amelia stood her ground and decided to pursue flying. She said that in that moment as the plane was coming towards her, it must have spoken to her.
Girl, she's a brave sister. Because if I had a plane, like a whole ass plane flying at me, I'd be running the other way.
But in January of the next year, in 1921, Amelia began her flying lessons.
Okay.
In 1928, Amelia became the first woman to fly across the Atlantic in a publicity stunt organized by George P. Putnam, who is a publisher and publicist. However, she did not pilot this trip. She was strictly a passenger and later said, quote, "I was just baggage like a sack of potatoes," unquote.
Honestly, relatable.
She was kind of really bitter about this.
I can imagine. They took away, like, her spotlight. She was supposed to be the pilot.
I read or saw in a documentary somewhere, like, she was super pissed off about it, and they even, like, made her this special, really feminine-looking aviator suit that they made her wear. It was, like, made of satin rather than, like, leather. And she was just, like,
They were trying to give the stereotypes.
Yes, very much that. But despite her anger and frustration, she did become an overnight celebrity and was nicknamed the Queen of the Sky. Later, in 1928, she became the first woman to fly solo across the continental United States.
Okay, that's good.
In 1930, she helped to organize and became the first president of the 99s, a group of female aviators which is still in existence today.
Okay.
And in 1931, she got married to George P. Putnam, the publicist and publisher who originally drafted her for that first transatlantic flight.
So she must not have been that bitter about it.
She referred to the marriage as a partnership and expected both to be breadwinners and with equal say in the marriage. She never did change her name, but George was sometimes called Mr. Earhart.
Mr. Earhart, progressive.
Yes.
I'm here for that.
And a lot of people say that because she said in publicly, like, it's a partnership, and, like, there's a letter that she hand-delivered to her husband on their wedding day that said, like, there might be times where, like, I have to leave to go to my own space, and everyone's like, oh, it's just a business partnership. But a lot of her family members say that they were actually really affectionate and friendly in private.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking that the fact that she's saying that this is a partnership where we have equal say and people are saying, oh yeah, it was a business partnership, is just misogyny in 1930s. Like, how can a woman have equal say in a marriage?
Okay, so she was like asserting her dominance. She was like, hey, this is how this is going to fucking work.
Yeah. And like, this will come up later too, like where she was the breadwinner of the family.
Okay.
Like, he had his own money. Like, he was, like, president of a family publishing firm. He did publicity. So, in May 1932, Earhart departed Newfoundland, Canada, intended for Paris to become the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic, and she was going to fly the same route that Charles Lindbergh had flown when he became the first man to fly nonstop across the Atlantic. However, the flight came with many hardships, including mechanical problems on the wing, ice on the wings, leaking fuel, and at one point the engine actually caught on fire mid-flight.
That would be so spooky, bitch. Could you imagine you're in the air and all of a sudden your shit's on fire?
Your shit's on fire, your fuel is leaking, and you can't move the wings because they're frozen.
That's when you say your prayers and you get ready to meet the other side, Samantha.
She landed in a field just north of Derry, Northern Ireland. A farmer approached her and asked if she had flown far, to which she famously replied, "From America." This increased Earhart's celebrity and earned her some highly placed friends, including First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt.
Okay, friends in high places.
Yes. In January 1935, she became the first pilot to fly solo from Hawaii to California, and in April, she flew a record nonstop flight from Mexico City to New York. Also during this time, she worked to establish a flight school and became a faculty member at Purdue University, counseling women who wanted to go into the workforce. Other achievements from this time include first person ever to fly the Atlantic twice, first woman to receive the Distinguished Flying Cross, first woman to fly nonstop coast to coast across the U.S., woman speed transcontinental record, first woman to fly solo between Hawaii and California, first person to fly from Los Angeles to Mexico City, first person to fly solo nonstop from Mexico City to Newark, New Jersey, speed record for east to west flight from Oakland, California to Honolulu, Hawaii, and the first person to fly solo from the Red Sea to Karachi.
She's got a lot of records, girl. She's racking them up.
So with all this, what else can Amelia do? She's done it all.
I think you're about to tell me.
Well, in 1937, she decided that she was going to embark on a round-the-world flight in a custom-built Lockheed Electra 10E, which was like one of the biggest and most advanced planes ever.
Okay.
And it was equipped with state-of-the-art communication equipment and extra fuel tanks, and she actually called it her flying laboratory.
Huh.
The trip was sponsored by Purdue University. And so to kind of get money, she was like, oh, we're going to test atmosphere and like what the air pressure is up there, and like to kind of, because her husband was a publicist, so everyone was like, this is a publicity stunt, because it was no secret that she was then going to write a book about the round the world flight.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, she hadn't written it yet because she hadn't done it, but like it was like a noted secret.
Okay.
It was a known secret, rather.
Period.
On March 17th of 1937, she set off from Oakland, California for Honolulu, Hawaii for the first leg of the west to east trip with navigator Fred Noonan, radio operator Harry Manning, and technical advisor... Give me a second. Yes, navigator Fred Noonan, radio operator Harry Manning, and technical advisor Paul Mance, who Earhart had originally attempted to open a flight school with right before this flight.
So they knew each other.
Yes. So they were going to open it, and then they decided to put it off to do this.
Okay.
Now, initially, Harry Manning was chosen as the navigator, but Putnam decided he made a slight navigational error during a flight from like New York to California. And so they decided to hire Fred Noonan, who had just resigned from being a navigator for Pan Am.
Oh, okay.
Like, and when I say like he was a well-known navigator, he was making the plane routes for Pan Am.
So he's very well respected.
Yes.
He knows what he's doing.
However, they were grounded for 3 days in Honolulu while the plane had to undergo repairs at Luke Airfield in Pearl Harbor, which is the U.S. military base there.
Mm-hmm.
And after the repairs, Amelia set off with Manning and Noonan, but Mance stayed behind. But the flight never even left the ground. When the plane entered a ground loop, crashed, and was severely damaged, and had to be shipped back to California for repairs. There's a lot of debate over what caused the accident. Witnesses reported seeing a tire blow, and Earhart thought this too had occurred, but some, including Mance, cited pilot error.
Already we're getting a lot of like crashes, a lot of malfunctions. There's a lot going on here already.
In May of that year, Amelia began her second attempt at a round-the-globe flight, this time from west to east, beginning in she did still start in California, but she flew secretly to Miami and then announced it.
Okay.
So she was beginning in Miami, and this time without Manning, who had left the crew. Nobody really knows why. He was a member of the military, and it could have been that he had so long of a leave of absence, and he had to go back and he couldn't get it extended. Other people say he was really spooked by what he cited as Amelia's pilot error in Honolulu.
Okay.
So it's just going to be her and Fred Noonan. And at first they had kind of a rocky relationship with her, kind of like, she wrote a lot of letters and she kept a very detailed log, and she kept referring to him very dismissively as Freddie, and like, Freddie says this, Freddie does this. But as the trip went on, she began to grow more respect for him, as seen in her log.
Okay. They're getting closer.
The pair traveled from the United States to South America, to Africa, to the Indian subcontinent, to Eastern Asia, as close to the equator as possible. They wanted to do it like at the widest part of the Earth. To make it that much harder, because like anyone can fly like around the globe, around the North Pole.
That makes sense.
I could literally go to the North Pole and just run in a circle, and technically I'm running around the globe.
Right. They got to make it like interesting.
Exactly. On June 29th, the pair landed at Lae Airfield in New Guinea, having traversed 22,000 miles and had 7,000 miles left to complete the flight. Almost all of it over the Pacific Ocean.
Ooh, that's spooky. I don't like flying over oceans like that.
No. I'm always like... See, like, if you're flying like along the coast and you crash in the water, there's the coast, somebody will come get you.
Right.
If I'm flying over the ocean and we crash and I live, who's going to come rescue us?
Right, what's going on? What are we doing, Samantha? No, what are we doing?
But I mean, I guess I would take a water landing over a land crash landing.
That's an interesting question. Do you want to drown or you just want to pow right out?
Well, no, because like the Miracle on the Hudson, if the pilot gets it right and like lands on the water, the plane will float for a while.
Oh.
And there are life rafts and life preservers. But if you crash on the ground, there's greater chance that he's not going to land it the right way, and you're just going to go...
Yeah, I guess the water would probably be the more preferable one then.
Pap really likes watching those air disaster documentary shows.
Oh. That's quite the pastime.
Well, he doesn't fly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he likes cars and stuff. Like, he watches, like, drag racing. He watches the car auctions. He watches ice road truckers.
Okay.
So I guess, like, it's kind of like that transportation thing.
Planes, trains, and cars.
Exactly.
Automobiles.
For a while, he did do that thing, like, on Smithsonian where they had, like, America from Above.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, like, the landscape and somebody, like, in a hot air balloon. And the train, where it's just a video camera on the front of the train and it's just going down the track.
Yeah.
He did watch those for a while. On July 2nd, at 10 a.m. local time, Earhart and Noonan took off from Leigh in the heavy Electra. It was very heavy with fuel, set for a 20-hour, 2,556-mile flight to Howland Island in the Pacific Ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Howland Island is an uninhabited coral island just 65,000 feet in length and 1,600 feet wide. So this thing isn't even a mile long.
That would be hard to land a plane on that bitch.
So to aid Earhart to land on this tiny island, the U.S. Coast Guard posted the clipper Itasca to the island to provide both communication and navigational support on her landing through various means, including radio contact, a homing signal, and pumping a thick column of black smoke to mark their location.
Okay, so she's not...
They covered all the bases.
Mm-hmm.
What can go wrong?
Something usually does.
At 3 p.m. Leigh time, Amelia reported her altitude as 1,000 feet, but that she would be lowering due to cloud cover.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people say, why was she at 10,000 feet when that would be... It takes gas to get that high.
Yeah.
And also there's really strong headwind, which is the wind that's coming at the plane.
Mm-hmm.
And you want the plane from the back of... You want the wind from the back of you so you can sort of ride it.
Yeah.
But when it's coming at you, you're fighting it.
Yeah.
So she's using gas 2 different ways now.
Oh. I'm starting to doubt Homegirl a little bit. At first I was like, okay, Homegirl knows what she's talking about, but I'm starting to doubt her a little bit.
As they approached, Itasca received strong, clear radio messages from Earhart, but could not confirm if she could hear their messages. At 6:14 a.m., Amelia called that they were within 200 miles of the Itasca and asked for them to use their directional finder to give her a bearing to prepare for landing. The crew of the ship soon realized that their system was incapable to tune into the plane's signal.
So, like, that was the last thing they heard was like, I'm close. I need you guys to do this. And that's the last they heard.
That's not the last thing they heard.
Okay.
But this is the oh shit moment.
Oh.
Because not only is the homing system not working, they can't communicate with her to say, like, okay, what's your bearing?
Okay. Oof. Yikes. Not looking good.
At 6:45 a.m., Amelia called again asking for a bearing and stating they were about 100 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
At 7:30 a.m., Earhart reported the plane only had about half an hour fuel left and that she thought they were clipped but could not see the ship.
Ooh.
At 7:58 a.m., she requested the ship send her voice messages to get a bearing, but the crew was forced to send Morse messages due to the fact that their radio system was not compatible. She acknowledged receiving these, but was unable to pick up the direction.
Mm-hmm.
This message was the loudest, meaning the plane was in the immediate area of the ship, and lookouts actually went outside to, like, look for where she was coming from.
Okay. Huh.
In one of her last messages, Amelia stated, "We must be on you, but cannot see you. Gas is low." In her final confirmed message, she said, "We are on the line 157-337. We will repeat message. We will repeat this on 6210 6210 kilocycles. Wait." She may have also said, "We are running north and south," and the crew all reported that she had sounded frantic. The Itasca immediately began to search the waters north and west of Howland Island. 5 days later, on July 7th, it was joined by the USS Colorado, a battleship, to search the south and east of the island, and by the aircraft carrier USS Lexington, which continued to search until July 18th. Earhart's husband, George Putnam, paid for a private investigation of the Pacific and local islands, and later that month hired 2 small boats to continue the search. On January 5th, 1939, Amelia Earhart was declared legally dead by a court in Los Angeles. The U.S. government undertook a lengthy investigation, included that the Electra ran out of fuel and crashed into the Pacific with Earhart and Noonan aboard, and that it was a result of the trip. How did they phrase this? It was a result of bad planning and worse execution.
So, what about this guy that she was with, though? Because everyone's talking about Amelia, but, like, what about him? Like, no one ever talks about... Because before this, I did not know someone was with Amelia when she disappeared. Yes. No one ever talks about that. The way I would be so pissed if I died, and I die with someone, and they only talk about that other person.
Well, I'm sure,
I would throw fucking hands.
I hate to say it, but she was the celebrity, and we do see this.
Right.
Like, when Princess Diana died. She was with her boyfriend, Dodi Fayed. Mm-hmm. But now when we think of Princess Diana dying, we think of Princess Diana dying in the car crash. And it's almost like she was alone.
Right, exactly.
But you forget, there were 3 other people in the car. And 2 of the other people other than Princess Diana died.
Right. And I've been seeing that on the internet a lot too lately, of how, like, friends of famous people, they get nervous when they fly with them because, like, if they crash, it's going to be like, oh... Tana Mojo and friends crash and die.
So I hate to say it, but I'm sure the newspaper reports at the time were Amelia Earhart missing. Along with her was navigator Fred Noonan.
Exactly. I would be so sick, bitch.
And what's really sad is he got married, like, in between the first attempt and the second attempt. Mm-hmm. He got married.
Oh, so he left the wife.
Yeah, and, like, they could only do, like, a weekend in Hollywood. Because, like, he was going to do the second attempt with Amelia. Mm. And, like, it was reported in the newspaper that they were doing a abbreviated honeymoon and that they would wait to take a real honeymoon until he got back.
Damn, they never got that second honeymoon. Well, she probably got a second one. Maybe she remarried. You never know.
And now, here, let me start this. Despite the official conclusion, there have been many alternative theories as to what happened to Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan. And before I get into these theories, I want to debunk something right now, and that's the theory that Amelia and Fred were lovers and that they planned this together.
That's low-key iconic.
Especially because the night before they took off, or right before they took off, like nighttime, they were overheard arguing. And Fred went to a bar and stayed there till the wee hours. Mm-hmm. And they had to cancel their planned takeoff the next morning due to weather conditions.
Ooh, or maybe they disappeared because Fred killed her ass. They got in that fight and that was the final straw.
Well, how was she doing the radio messages?
Maybe it was Fred. You say it was Morse code, right?
No, they were sending Morse code to them. She was doing voice messages.
Oh, so they could hear her voice.
They could hear her. She could. We don't know if she ever got anything back other than, like, the Morse code.
Okay.
And neither her nor Fred Noonan knew Morse code.
That's unfortunate. You'd think all those years in the air they'd fucking learn some Morse fucking code.
Yeah. So, like, Amelia was a pilot. Fred Noonan was a pilot. Harry Manning, who was originally going to come along as... He was going to be communications officer, co-pilot, and co-navigator. Mm-hmm. Because he was a sea captain, so he knew navigation and he knew Morse code.
Okay.
But also it wouldn't have helped because they actually ditched the Morse code machine out of the plane to add more fuel for this leg.
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes.
So, around the time of Earhart's disappearance, Mabel Larimore reported that while she was listening to her family's radio, she heard a woman's voice claiming to be Earhart, saying that Fred Noonan was seriously injured.
And this is... Who is this that heard this?
This is some chick in the U.S.
Okay.
Like, she's at home listening, like...
I don't believe that. Bitch could have made it up.
On the same day, Betty Clank heard similar calls on her own radio of an agitated and injured man and distressed woman. She heard what sounded through the static like Marie, Marie, Marie. Noonan's wife was Mary B.
Oh, okay. Well, what if it was their ghosts on the radio?
At one point, the woman said, "George, get the suitcase in my closet." California. Earhart kept a suitcase of personal documents in a closet in her California home, which she had told her mother she wanted destroyed if anything happened to her.
That's spooky. Conspiracy. What the fuck?
She also heard the woman say repeatedly what sounded like New York City before the man eventually said, "Water's knee deep, let me out."
I'm shook about these personal documents, because what's she hiding?
Well, I mean, a lot of people, like, these letter writing was the main form of communication.
Oh, and she wanted to hide her love affair with Fred or whatever, so.
Why would she have... Well, obviously she wouldn't have, like, fallen in love with him until on the trip.
You don't know that.
Well, they didn't like each other at the beginning of the trip.
Maybe it was an act.
Okay. You believe what you want to believe. But some believe these staticky messages to be Earhart's last calls, and that they lead to Earhart and Noonan landing near the island of Nikumaroro, where there was a stranded wreck of the ship Norwich City.
Okay.
Norwich City.
Oh, it sounds like New York City.
Through the static.
They probably heard New York, but it was Norwich.
Because you're like, what is she saying?
Girl.
Yes.
Keep going. I'm so sorry.
One main proponent of this theory is the International Group for Historic Aircraft Recovery, better known as TIGER.
Grr. Arg. Fierce.
Please email them a video. I have a new way for you to start all your TikToks, and it's "We're Tiger, rawr, finding those airplanes, rawr."
Fierce. Get into that.
They theorize that after the two missed Howland Island, they flew on, and Earhart made a crash landing on a reef just offshore. And that they used the last bit of fuel to run the engine to make these distress calls before trying to live on the uninhabited island before dying.
Mm-hmm.
In the 1940s, so in 1939, 2 years later, the British came and they tried to set up a settlement.
Yeah.
And the next year, a British colonial officer was informed that earlier in the year, somebody had found a skull and buried it. Mm. So he went to where they had found it and did a whole archaeological expedition. And he found a skeleton, a bottle, a shoe, and a sextant box. And a sextant is a navigational tool.
Oh. That could have been anyone's navigational tool.
Tiger has done many other explorations. And they have found the heel of a woman's shoe, makeshift tools, like from 1920s, 30s era knives. Mm-hmm. The handle's like broken. Mm-hmm. And there was just the blade. And they think like, oh, this was used to make a spear to like fish.
So like they were trying to survive and like doing what they could type of thing.
An oddly broken piece of plexiglass and an aluminum patch, seemingly part of an airplane, which they initially identified as a patch from the Electra. And I don't know why I didn't do this. They also found an empty jar of freckle cream.
Oh.
And Amelia Earhart had freckles, and freckles weren't very in then. Mm-hmm. And so they say she could have had this freckle cream.
They try and get rid of her good old freckles.
And that
she didn't love herself.
And for some reason she took it on the island, even though they had no food.
You know, priorities.
However...
She said, I'm going to die, but you won't see me with no fucking freckles.
However, they have never found anything conclusive to link Earhart and Noonan to this island. Mm-hmm. Especially when you consider that the aluminum patch isn't from even from an Electra. It's from like a MacArthur Douglas, I think is the name of the company that made it. It was a different plane company. In 2009, Dr. Robert Ballard, famous for discovering the wreck of the Titanic, conducted an underwater search around the island, but also found no evidence of the Electra.
That sucks.
Tiger was not to be put off, and they said, that reef is right on the side of a shelf. If it fell off and went down, we'd never see it.
Did they ever go down? Or they can't go down?
I can't remember. I watched the documentary. I don't remember.
Okay,
I don't think they went... They probably did sonar and didn't find anything down there. Okay. And I think Tiger said, obviously it was washed away with the current.
Probably. I mean, who knows?
So you might be asking yourself, but what about that skeleton?
It could have been anyone's, really.
Yes, because the British officer in the 40s sent it to Fiji where it was examined and determined to be of a person who was 5 foot to 5'4". Earhart was 5'8". Noonan was taller than her. No less than 45 years old. Earhart was just under 40 at the time. And, most damningly, a man.
Yeah, could have been anyone. Sorry, y'all. What can you do?
Not on Nickermoraro.
You gotta be careful saying that on air. Kind of sounds like a little bit like some slurs.
At the time, it was called Gardner Island, but the proper name of it now is Nickermoraro.
Nickermoraro. Wow.
So, let's not stop there. Another theory is that Earhart and Noonan crashed on another island under Japanese control and were taken prisoner while the Japanese disposed of the Electra by cutting it to scrap and sinking it. And this theory was actually advocated by many of Earhart's relatives, with one of them saying, "I'm convinced the Japanese had something to do with it."
Was this before or after Pearl Harbor? Because could this
before?
Okay, this was before. I was gonna say, could this tie into some of that panic? Well, not panic, but prejudiced against Japanese people after Pearl Harbor. But if it was before that,
I will admit that this is the time of Japanese expansionism when there was tensions growing.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Pearl Harbor was a sneak attack, but the tensions had been growing between the U.S. and Japan for a long time.
Okay, so maybe some of their prejudice could play into that, maybe a little bit.
Well, I don't know if it's prejudice. It could be prejudice. It could also just be political. Kind of like how right now with Russia fighting a war in Ukraine, every time a plane goes down in Eastern Europe, everyone immediately goes, well, did the Russians shoot it down?
See, that makes sense.
I don't know if it was actual racism or just political prejudice. I don't know if it was racial prejudice or political prejudice. I'm not them. I didn't read that far into that, and I'm not going to speculate.
Right.
But since the end of World War II, there's a location on Tinian near the island of Saipan said to be the grave of the two aviators.
Okay.
In 1990, NBC News released a special in which they interviewed a Saipanese woman who said she had witnessed Earhart and Noonan be executed by the Japanese after they landed on Saipan.
That's crazy.
In 2012, Mike Campbell cited claims of Marshall Islanders who witnessed an airplane crash and a U.S. Army surgeon who investigated a suspicious gravesite near a former Japanese prison on Saipan. And in 2017, History Channel published a photograph purported to show Noonan and a woman who's turned away but appears to be Earhart near a Japanese warship after they crash-landed on the Mili Atoll and claimed debris had been recovered from there.
So there's a crash and a picture of someone who looks like her. I'm getting convinced, guys. I don't know about the folks at home, but that sounded like maybe that's probably what happened.
So, this is the picture.
Okay.
And they say this is Noonan.
Okay.
And that's Earhart.
Yeah.
And this will be in the photo dump.
You can't really tell, honestly, but... Because that could be any woman. It really could have been any woman.
Well, let me tell you this.
Ooh.
This photo was quickly debunked because even though it was discovered that the photo was found in the Marshall Islands National Archives, it was actually from the Japanese National Diet Library. It was taken in 1935 as a tourist photo, like for tourism, a whole 2 years before their disappearance.
Oh.
And you can see in the photo, like, it's very obviously like a brochure photo.
Yeah.
Because you see let me bring it up. You see tourists walking along the pier.
Yeah, it is kind of like a photo, like a brochure. I get what you're saying. I got you.
This theory is furthermore unlikely, as despite the growing tensions between Japan and the U.S. in the lead up to World War II, if Earhart, a global celebrity, and Noonan crashed in Japanese territory, the Japanese would be motivated to find them quickly and rescue them to be hailed as heroes, because the Japanese are a very proud nation. They're very proud people.
Yes.
So like they wouldn't execute the celebrity.
That makes sense.
They would want to look, we found her.
We're the heroes of this
Exactly.
story or whatever. Okay, that makes sense. I got you.
So another theory that goes along with the Japanese capture theory is that Earhart was serving as a spy as enlisted by her friend Franklin Delano Roosevelt, President of the United States at this time. Because it was noted that Earhart did have a friendship with Roosevelt and his wife Eleanor, and with Eleanor she often wrote letters back and forth. But it's highly unlikely that President Roosevelt would have risked both Earhart's safety and national security by sending a celebrity to spy on Japan on a highly publicized around-the-world flight.
Right, like everyone knew what she was doing. Like it wasn't a secret. No.
Jackie Cochran, a fellow aviator and close friend of Earhart, actually traveled to Japan after World War II. It made an extensive search of the records and found nothing mentioning Earhart.
Rip.
And there's one last twist to the Japanese capture theory, which is that Earhart was not executed, but forced to broadcast as one of the women known as Tokyo Rose. Now, Tokyo Rose was a name given to women broadcasters of Japanese propaganda during World War II to demoralize Allied troops. So they were women, they had American accents, and they would go on these special radio stations set up from Japan, purporting to be like American radios, but it was all Japanese propaganda. And they would get on there and they'd be like, "The Allies are heavily losing the war. Hitler is about to invade New York. You should give up in the Pacific." Like that.
So they were lying.
Yes.
Trying to trick these whores.
Earhart's widow Putnam heard this rumor and actually listened to many broadcasts, but never heard a voice like hers. Another theory is that Earhart turned around mid-flight and crashed near Rabaul, New Britain, which is now part of Papua New Guinea.
Okay.
In 1990, veteran Donald Angwin contacted researchers to tell them that when he was fighting in the New Britain campaign of World War II with the Australian Army, he discovered the wreck of a 2-engine, unpainted, all-metal plane in the jungle, which may have been Earhart's. He gave them a rough map of its location and serial numbers he saw in the wreckage. Angwin died in 2001, but researchers have continued to look into this. However, none of the serial numbers conclusively linked to the Electra. And with the strong radio signals heard by the Itasca, it's impossible that Earhart, with half an hour's worth of fuel, could have backtracked 2,000 miles in 13 hours to New Britain.
Yeah, it doesn't seem likely. Honestly.
So, like, she would have had to been really lost, and those radio signals would have had really traveled.
Gee, very that. Okay, I get what you're saying.
Now, Paul, what if I told you Amelia Earhart didn't crash at all? Author Joe Class put forward the theory that Earhart had lived in his 1970 book, Amelia Earhart Lives, based on research by Major Joseph Gervais. In 1965, Gervais was invited to speak at a retired pilots convention, and while there he was introduced to Mrs. Irene Bowman by Earhart's friend Viola Gentry. He immediately noted that Bowman looked like an older Earhart and began to research her past. The book goes on to say that Earhart survived the flight, moved to New Jersey, changed her name, and remarried.
Why would she do that, though?
Maybe she was tired of the publicity.
Oh, she was tired of the fame. Girl, I don't know about all that. Like...
Well, she wanted to just be a pilot, and she married a publicist who forced her to go on this round-the-world flight, and then to write a book, and to do a book tour, and then he's going to make her do another round-the-world flight from the North Pole to the South Pole.
Girl, I don't know about all that.
Well, Mrs. Bowman didn't either. When it was published, Mrs. Bowman sued for $1.5 million.
Get your bag, sister.
And submitted a lengthy affidavit to the court denying being Earhart.
Could you imagine having to deny being Amelia Earhart? Like,
this was so earth-shattering that I believe I read, and I hope I didn't misread this, but the book's publisher, McGraw-Hill, actually pulled the book from shelves.
I don't doubt it, honestly. Because, like, could you imagine, like, you're just living your life and all of a sudden everyone's like, you're actually Demi Lovato. Like...
So, while Bowman was briefly an amateur pilot in the 1930s and claimed to have known Amelia Earhart briefly, and it is I'm sorry, I misphrased that. Let me start again. Bowman was briefly an amateur pilot in the 1930s and did claim to know Earhart briefly, fleetingly.
Mm-hmm.
And it is proven that she and Earhart had a number of mutual friends. When Bowman died, Class asked to photograph and fingerprint her body to conclusively prove that she was Amelia Earhart. He was denied. Forensic experts have studied photographs of both Earhart and Bowman and have determined they physically cannot have been the same person.
Right. That's crazy. Girl. They probably looked like nothing alike either. Girl.
Let me show you.
Okay, actually, they kind of do look a little similar.
They look very alike in that... See, I think they look alike as in, like, if they made a movie where Amelia Earhart lived, they could cast her as an actress to play an older Amelia Earhart. But at no point... It's not like... Mm-hmm. So, Hilary Swank played Amelia Earhart in a movie.
Okay.
At no point am I going to look at Hilary Swank and go, oh my god, that's actually Amelia Earhart.
Right. Honestly, it kind of does. It is giving that vibe. Like, one of them looks like they were just playing the other in the movie.
Yes, like...
It's giving that. And honestly...
I mean, this picture of Bowman's kind of blurry, but they have different eyes. They have a different face shape.
Yeah.
Amelia Earhart has that, like, her cheeks really narrowed down to her chin.
Yeah. I mean, they're both giving
Bowman...
Home Depot. It's giving like they could run a softball league, if you know what I'm saying.
Jesus. So, Paul, while we can currently only speculate as to what happened to Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan, we may soon know an answer. Just this year, a company called Deep Sea Vision discovered via sonar what appears to be the wreck of a plane on the ocean floor within 100 miles of Howland Island.
Oh.
Further investigation is needed to determine if it really is Earhart's Electra, or is it just another implausible explanation on the disappearance of the Queen of the Sky.
Bitch, what about the crabs? We didn't talk...
that was part of Gardner Island, Nicomararo.
Oh.
And so, yes.
The coconut crabs were people...
Tiger says that the reason why they didn't find any bodies was the coconut crabs would take the bodies and take the bones and eat them.
Yeah, the crabs. That was a big meme on the internet for
yes,
a
but
long
also,
time.
So that's meme-worthy.
Could you imagine
I had a lot better evidence as to why Amelia Earhart was never on Nicomararo.
See, from what I gathered from the meme is that there were a ton of those huge coconut crabs and they would come out at night and they ate her alive. Could you imagine trying to outcrawl some coconut crabs?
Why wouldn't she run?
Right.
Because in the calls, she was somewhat hurt, but not as hurt as Noonan. So maybe she left Noonan to the crabs.
Exactly. And you know what?
But-
I've been left to the crabs before, and
Well,
usually the pill clears it right
eventually
up.
she would die and the crabs would come and take her. But I don't think that they would eat her alive. Noonan, maybe.
Yeah.
But also, there's no evidence she was ever there.
Exactly. The crabs thing is just funny. You gotta stick with the memes, kids. Could you imagine getting eaten alive by crabs?
I mean, depends on your partner.
Exactly. Being thrown to the crabs. Girl, we're thrown to the crabs every time we walk up in Lucky's, honey.
Whew, ain't that the truth?
Girl.
So I showed you a couple pictures. I want to show you a couple more, and these are all going to be in the photo dump.
Okay.
That is Amelia Earhart. And that is her after her European flight, the solo one.
Girl, she's feeling herself. She's posed. She's ready. She's feeling herself on this flight, bitch.
That's her and George,
Okay.
who she called GP.
He looks like a creep.
Everyone looked like that in the 30s. That is a newspaper map of her.
Flight
Flight.
across the world.
That's Howland Island, and that's where it is.
Okay. It kind of does suck that she made it so far. She made it so far, and she was so close to the end.
So I was looking, and then that's Nicomararo, and like that shows you there's Howland Island, and then there's Nicomararo. So if she was flying along that line,
It could have happened,
Yes.
guys.
yeah, I was actually looking. So she was set to land back in California on July 4th. She disappeared on July 2nd. She literally had 2 days left of flight.
Oh, I'd be so sick. I'd be so pissed if I was Amelia. Girl, justice for my girl Amelia, honestly.
So I really loved Amelia Earhart as a kid, and I forgot how much I loved her. I was a history nerd, Paul. Get over it.
Girl, we know. I know. I'm not surprised at all by this shit at this point.
Also, do you like how I managed to work Titanic into this?
Yeah, I completely remember you talking about the Titanic during this. I didn't block that out.
You just have a mental block, like cheese.
Right. Honestly.
Yeah, that's Oh, I have a smasher pass.
Yes, let's get into the Smasher Pass.
Smasher pass, Amelia Earhart.
Oh my god. Okay, low key, she gives Twink a little bit. She does give Twink a little bit. So we might give it a chance, maybe just for one night. You know, you've had a few beverages, they start playing some Celine Dion, she starts dancing just right. Amelia, we might be able to do it. She keeps her bomber jacket on, you know? Keeps on that good old flight outfit.
Actually, I have a story about her bomber jacket.
Ooh.
So after she completed her first flight, she went out and she bought herself an aviator jacket. And all the other pilots at the airfield that she was training at made fun of her because it was so new. So she started to sleep in it and rub aviation plane oil all over it to make it look older, so she could fit in with the rest of the pilots.
That's crazy.
I think that's so sweet.
I think it's crazy they were making fun of her for having a new
It was
jacket.
teasing. It was teasing. It was oh, look, Earhart's got a new jacket.
Right, she got a new jacket. What do you want from the girl? Girl, people are crazy.
It was all in good fun. I don't think it was mean. But I think it's really cute. She did everything she could to break this jacket in.
Well, it's hard being a woman in STEM, you know? You gotta keep up with the boys, and the boys will
I would
I'll
love
see.
to know what she would have done if she had lived.
Me too.
Beyond the book, beyond
you
the
know
book
what?
tour, what other records would she set? Actually, while I was looking her up, this author wrote an alternative history book where she lived, and she became a fighter pilot in World War II. And she was the only woman fighter pilot.
Hey, why not, you know?
Which I think would be totally badass.
And it's pretty badass, you know? Period. I can see it. Why not? This was a cute little story. It was a nice little bop.
I'm sorry I, debunked all of the theories.
Right. How did she
But,
die? Who knows?
Well, her stepson, George P. Putnam Jr., did say, I think she crashed in the ocean.
Yeah, she probably did, honestly. But it's just, fun to speculate. You
It is
never
fun
know.
to speculate.
Keep the
And
mystery alive.
definitely, there's a great documentary. I think it's National Geographic. I think it's called Expedition Amelia.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can find it on Disney Plus because Disney owns National Geographic now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really nice because it goes into Tiger and the Nicaraguaro theory and Dr. Robert Ballard's underwater expedition around the island.
Mm-hmm.
And also I want to shout out... Shit.
Me.
It's a podcast that I listen to.
Well, there's only 73 of those. The way you and I listen to so many podcasts on a regular basis is crazy. We're like a podcast library at this point.
We really are. Give me 2 seconds.
Girl, while we looking it up, if y'all want to donate a silent air conditioner...
Astonishing Legends has a great 2-part episode that goes really in depth about all of these theories.
Okay.
And talking what's for them, what's against them, and they have some crazy information. I didn't want to do a 2-parter. I didn't want to do a really long episode.
Yeah.
So please do your own research and text us and let us know what you think happened to her. If you're listening to this audibly, you can go into our descriptor. There's a link for text us. It goes through, it's not our personal number. It goes through our hosting website, but we can't see all of them. We can't reply to you, but hopefully one day we'll be able to do a live and answer your questions from there, or maybe even do a FAQ episode to do something different. And if you're watching this on YouTube, we can put it in the YouTube descriptor. Just go on Spotify or Amazon Podcast. Click on any episode and the link's in there.
Period.
I forgot to say, before I did the social media, hard smash. Hard smash.
See, I could see you. I could see you and Amelia.
I have a thing for badass pioneering women.
You know what? Me too. Get into some badass pioneering women.
Oh my god.
Get into that.
Amelia Earhart. Eleanor Roosevelt.
Mm-hmm.
Rosa Parks. Hillary Clinton. Is it getting hot in here? Is it just me?
Oh my god.
Those pantsuits, Paul. The pantsuits.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, please subscribe, and review anywhere you do listen to us. If you don't like us, if you hate us, don't leave a nasty review. It's not going to help you. It's not going to help us. Just don't listen to us anymore. Please, if you have personal stories or story recommendations, you can email us at cryptsandcorks@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook and on X at Crypts and Corks, or on Instagram and TikTok at Crypts and Corks Pod. Paul, where can they find you?
You can find me at my personal Instagram at Paul Ember, Paulember, or my personal TikTok at Paul Ember, Paulember. And as usual, guys, it's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
And if you'd like to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram or on TikTok at TheRealDeej, DEEJ Powers. And if you would like to send me a love letter, you can address it to Amelia Earhart Shack on Nicaraguaro.
Okay.
And that's all she wrote. So until next time, guys, remember to keep your crypts tight.
And your corks loose. Bye.
Here comes the airplane.
Stop. I'm calling the cops.